What's up, world? Thanks for jumping in for another ride. Today, we are back in the shop with the 2018 Ford Edge Sport that has been with us since new. And one of the things that has never been done on our 2018 Ford Edge is a brake fluid flush. So it is long overdue, and that's what we're going to be tackling today. Brake fluid is one of those things that people definitely forget about, and it just sort of occurs in the background. And it's totally understandable. It's definitely one of those things that isn't talked about near as much as basic maintenance, such as oil changes. But the reality of that situation is brake fluid is hygroscopic, which essentially means that it will absorb moisture right out of the atmosphere, and it can cause corrosion in the braking system. That corrosion and degradation can absolutely lead to very expensive repairs, and outside of being a serious safety issue, it's just absolutely a pain to deal with down the road. So we may as well just go ahead and do what we need to do and get that brake fluid flushed. Also, for spirited driving, a good quality brake fluid will absolutely go a long way, because as that old brake fluid begins to absorb moisture, it just results in a spongy brake pedal. Now, Ford's basic recommendations is to go ahead and do a brake fluid flush every few years. Now, my personal choice for brake fluid is the Redline RL600 brake fluid. Now, this is absolutely something you do not have to use. This is just, in my experience, an absolutely fantastic fluid for any sort of daily driving, spirited driving, track driving. This stuff really covers a wide range of applications. So for that, we're going to be using the Redline brand of brake fluid, but the reality of the situation is you can essentially go down to any of the big box stores, auto parts store, whatever it is, and you can pick up a good quality synthetic brake fluid. Now, to get this job done, it's very straightforward. All we're going to need is a few tools, and we're going to go ahead and use my brake vac system that has a canister on it to pull the brake fluid through the system. But with that, I have actually covered this same process on our 2014 Shelby GT500 and our 2016 F-150. And in those videos, I go over an absolute ton of different tools that you could use for this application. So I'll go ahead and put those links down in the description below. So if you have any questions about different tools or different varieties of applications for those tools that you can use to flush the brake system, if you may have a personal preference or want to explore options, you can check those out. So this really is a straightforward job. So I'll just go over the 5,000 foot overview really quick with you. So we're just going to start at the rear passenger side, and then we're going to move over to the rear driver's side, and then we're going to move up to the front passenger side, and then we're going to move up to the front driver's side. And so basically we're going to pull fluid through those brake calipers in that order, starting from the farthest location to the closest location to the master cylinder reservoir. So this is really simple. This is something that you could definitely do in an afternoon in your driveway or garage. So there's no reason to overcomplicate it. The only thing left to do is everything. All right, first step, open the hood. And then you can find the master cylinder on the Ford Edge, and it's tucked way back there to the passenger side of the battery. So this is definitely a slightly different design than most traditional firewall mounts. It is tucked way back up in that cowl. First thing is just go ahead and remove the cap to our reservoir. And over on the side, we have the max full level, and down at the very bottom, we have the minimum. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna take our brake vac tool, and we're gonna slip the end of our hose down to the bottom of that reservoir as far as we can. And we're gonna start pulling any brake fluid out of this that we can. Now, we don't care if this is completely empty. We just wanna get it down low enough, say down to the minimum level, so that basically we can just top this back off up past the maximum level with fresh fluid. And then we'll go down to the calipers and we'll start pulling all of that old fluid through to get fresh fluid coming through the system. Next up, with the cap off, you're definitely going to need a funnel for this. We're going to go ahead and top this off with brake fluid. Got a little bit on the edge here. All right, feel free to laugh at me, beat me up in the comments, whatever you want. But yeah, I got way carried away with that. But it's not a big deal. That brake fluid is going to go through the system, and it's going to come out of the calipers. It's just really hard to see with a funnel down in there. So absolutely, totally my fault. I got that extremely full, so I'm going to pull some brake fluid through it. And then what I will do is actually just get a little bit of cleaner and spray around the bottom of that reservoir and clean that up. But there we go, we're topped off, and we can start pulling some fluid through the calipers. So this is probably a great time for a bit of a warning slash disclaimer, whatever you want to call it. So I have seen in the past brake fluid get on paint, and if it stays on paint, it can definitely cause damage. So if you get any brake fluid on your paint, get it up with a good cleaner quick. So don't leave it on there. And I don't know if formulas now are any different or not, but I have seen in the past brake fluid damage paint. So just be careful about that. Next step, go ahead and jack up the rear of the vehicle. If you're doing this in your garage, driveway, whatever it may be, just make sure that you go ahead and use jack stands appropriately. Here on the lift, we are using a bridge jack, so it locks into place. So no worries there. We are completely safe with this bridge jack and everything being up on the lift. Now with that tire and wheel off, this is the perfect time to go ahead and do a brake inspection, and I'm absolutely glad that we did. All right, so as we inspect the brakes on the 2018 Ford Edge Sport, you can see we've got some pretty decent little gouges and marks there. Sorry about the reflection of the light, just trying to make sure you can see things. So they're all the way around that. And then what we've really got going on is around here. So basically that inside brake pad is completely shot. It is paper thin. So while we're at this, we are going to go ahead and do some additional maintenance and get these rotors pulled off and go ahead and get some fresh brake pads on. But before we do that, I'll go ahead and get some brake fluid moving through this thing. So to access the bleeder on the rear calipers here on the Ford Edge, just go to the very top and there is going to be a rubber cap right there. And so what we need to do is just reach around and we're going to pop that cap off. So that is our bleeder. Now our bleeder is just an 11 millimeter. Now just make sure that your 11 millimeter or your 7/16 is on the nut all the way. So make sure that you use your box end. And as you can see, it's kind of a tight fit up in there. So if you can at all, if you have a little bit shorter wrench, that will make life a little bit easier. I just don't have a shorter wrench that will fit up in there. So I'm just going to use what I got. But other than that, just go ahead and put the vac tool on top of your bleeder like so. And we're going to crack it open. So lefty loosey, righty tighty. So we'll get this broke open and we'll get some fluid moving through it. All right, we just need to tighten our bleeder up. Make sure it's just snug. Don't crank on it, whatever you do. And don't forget your rubber cap. That'll keep any dust and debris out of it. So the next time, you are good to go. So that is literally the procedure for the back passenger side. It is really that simple. Don't be intimidated by this whatsoever. I'm gonna go ahead and move to the driver's side. It is the exact same as the passenger side. So again, absolutely do not be intimidated by this. It is really that simple. So I'll go ahead and I'll wrap up that rear driver's side and then we'll move up to the front passenger side and I'll see you up there. Just to share with you, after the rear brake calipers, that is the amount of fluid in our brake vac system, and we'll run up and we'll check on the brake master cylinder reservoir. All right, after our rear brake calipers are flushed, our level is actually just right under the max. So I really can't get an angle. You can kind of see the fluid level down in there. So you can see that it goes through that little opening and you can kind of get a pretty good idea where that's at. So as you've seen earlier, we're literally all the way back up to the top of the threads here. So that's how much fluid that we have pulled out of that reservoir. So just point of reference. And now we're up to the front. So I'll go ahead and show you where the brake bleeder is on this. All the brakes look great on the front. Went ahead and just did a quick once over on them, just a quick inspection. Everything looks good. All we have to address this is just flushing out the brake fluid. So let me go grab the camera and we'll check this out. All right, here is our caliper on the front of the Ford Edge Sport. And it actually has some decent sized calipers on it. I'm kind of surprised, to be honest, by this, but let me show you this real quick. You can see still plenty of pad material, so no worries there. To the important part, so on the back side of the caliper, if we go over the top, you can see this rubber cap right here, and then just pull that cap off. There is our brake bleeder. And then this one is a little bit different than the rear. So it is a 10 millimeter. I'll slip that on there so I can show you. So 10 millimeter, that should work for that. Other than that, I'm gonna go ahead and get some air up on the little compressor and get to moving some fluid through the front passenger side.
All right, we got some good clean fluid. Go ahead and get our bleeder tied back up. Just snug it. Do not get crazy with this. Don't forget your dust cap. And there you go. That is a wrap on the front passenger side. The front driver's side is the exact same situation. This is nothing to be intimidated about. It's a great service thing, and it is really necessary for safety to be, in all honesty. There's something that's going to prevent a ton of corrosion from eventually happening. It's inevitable. It will occur, especially with brake fluid being hygroscopic. So quick, simple, to the point. Again, don't be intimidated by this. This is a job that you can do in an afternoon. It's really basic. So other than that, I'm going to keep rolling over on that driver's side, and I'll see you here in just a second. Our front brake calipers are all flushed, and I have this sweet contraption set up here with this flashlight so that you can see there is the fluid level. So our minimum level is right there. You can barely see that line in the screen, I think, but that is our minimum. That is our maximum. And if you remember, we were literally to the top of the threads. So that's how much fluid we've gone through for the brake fluid flush on the front and back. Now with that, there is a caveat to that. We did actually have a brake issue in the back, so we went ahead and did rear brake pads and machined the rotors. So that may have skewed our results a little bit with our levels just slightly. But however, I just want to share that with you just to give you a solid idea of the level, and we're going to go ahead and top it off. Probably going to get it just below this seam right here, so that puts us a little closer to the mid mark between the minimum and maximum. You can see where our level is. So we are just above that mid seam like we talked about. You can see that max mark just above that. So we should be good to go there. And I set this up over here so you can see. So this is some clean fluid out of our red line container. You can see how clear and how smooth that fluid moves around. And then this is our O fluid. And you can see just how dark and really thin that fluid is. Not a very good hydraulic fluid whatsoever anymore. So huge difference. So just for a comparison, there is a visual before and after. And there we are, all topped off for our master cylinder. I'm gonna grab the cap and go ahead and cap off that reservoir.
And that is the brake fluid flush on the 2018 Ford Sport. So we got a firm pedal, we got fresh fluid, and we're absolutely ready for the road. So as you can see, this really is a straightforward, simple job. Don't be intimidated by this by any stretch of the imagination. This is absolutely something you can do in a driveway, garage, whatever it may be, over an afternoon. So this job does pay huge dividends when it comes to safety. So if this is something that hasn't been done on your vehicle in quite some time, absolutely just go ahead and add it to the list. This is something that you can do in an afternoon, no big deal whatsoever. So with that, listen, really do hope you got some good information out of this video, or we hope you just enjoyed hanging out in the shop with us today. If you have, please do us a huge favor if you haven't already. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and hit that subscribe button. And as always, jump in for another ride.